The crystalline spires of Valoria Prime gleamed under three suns, casting prismatic shadows across the throne room where Queen Zenith stood frozen in disbelief. Her scales, normally a regal shade of deep violet, had paled to lavender, a telltale sign of shock among her species. Before her, the human she had married barely 3 cycles ago was doing the impossible. Marcus Chen, the unassuming diplomat from Earth, held the collapsing support beam of the palace's central dome with his bare hands. The structure weighed at least 40,000 kilograms, yet he stood there, muscles trembling but holding firm, while palace guards evacuated the wounded from the destruction caused by the Krell attack. "Marcus, you'll be crushed." Zenith's voice carried the harmonic resonance of her kind, but it cracked with genuine fear, an emotion she rarely allowed herself to display. "Not yet," Marcus grunted through clenched teeth, his face reddening from the strain. "Get everyone out, now!" The Queen had married the human as part of a diplomatic alliance, a political arrangement between the Valorian Empire and the emerging Terran coalition. She'd found him pleasant enough, thoughtful, intelligent, with a peculiar sense of humor that sometimes made her mandibles twitch in what humans called a smile. But she'd also thought him soft, perhaps even weak by galactic standards. Humans were newcomers to the interstellar community, their world gravity-bound and their bodies fragile compared to the enhanced species that dominated known space. She had been catastrophically wrong. "My queen, the last of the wounded, are clear," Captain Thexer called out, his forearms gesturing urgently toward the exit. "Marcus, release it and run," Zenith commanded, already moving toward him, but the human shook his head, sweat pouring down his face. "The support field generators, they're rebooting. The system just needs 30 more seconds. If I let go now, the entire eastern wing collapses and the civilians sheltering there." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Zenith's combat implants calculated the variables instantly. He was right. The emergency protocols were cycling back online, but the window was impossibly narrow. No Valorian could hold that weight for 30 seconds. Even their strongest warriors, enhanced with genetic modifications spanning 10 generations, would crumble under such mass. Yet Marcus held 20 seconds. His legs, which she'd once thought merely adequate, were now pillars of corded muscle. His back, which she'd embraced gently in their private moments, was now a landscape of straining sinews, fighting against physics itself. Blood vessels stood out like cables beneath his skin, and she realized with a start that human biology was far more remarkable than any database had suggested. 10 seconds. "Marcus," she whispered, moving closer despite the danger. She finally understood what the other species whispered about humans, the rumors she'd dismissed as exaggeration. Humans came from a death world, a planet with crushing gravity, aggressive microbiology, and an evolutionary ladder that demanded constant adaptation or extinction. They weren't weak. They'd simply been underestimated. 5 seconds. Marcus's eyes met hers, and despite everything, he smiled. That infuriating, wonderful human smile. "By the way," he gasped, "I've been meaning to tell you. I've been using gravity dampeners since I arrived. Protocol for human visitors to low-G worlds. I turned them off when the Krell attacked. 0. The support field generators hummed to life with a pulse of blue energy. The dome's weight transferred to the restored structure, and Marcus finally released his grip, staggering backward. Zenith caught him, surprised again by his mass. He was far denser than she'd realized, his bones like iron, his muscles like steel cables. "Gravity dampeners?" She helped him toward a bench, her mind racing. "How much gravity does Earth have?" "About 9.8 meters per second squared," he said, rolling his shoulders. "Valoria Prime is around 4.2, so I've basically been walking around at less than half my normal weight for 3 months. He looked up at her sheepishly. "I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Humans have a reputation for being intense." Zenith's scales flushed from lavender back to violet, then deeper, to indigo, the color of profound respect among her people. Around them, guards and officials who'd witnessed Marcus's feat were touching their foreheads in the traditional gesture of honor to a superior warrior. "You held 40,000 kilograms, she said slowly, while operating at less than half your natural strength. "Well, adrenaline helps," Marcus admitted. "Humans have this emergency response system. floods the body with chemicals, shuts down pain limiters, lets us access normally restricted muscle capacity, evolutionary holdover from when we had to fight off predators with our bare hands. He winced. I'll probably feel this tomorrow, though. The Queen sat beside him, this human who'd been her husband in name but whom she was only now truly beginning to know. The intelligence reports on your species were incomplete. Most species judge us by our diplomats and scientists, Marcus said softly. The ones who come to space are usually the calm ones, the thinkers. Earth didn't send our warriors or laborers or athletes to first contact. We sent our best ambassadors. He looked at his hands, still trembling slightly. But every human carries our world with us, the gravity that shaped our bones, the diseases that sharpened our immune systems, the competition that made us adapt or die. Zenith reached out, taking one of those remarkable hands in her own. I married you for politics, she said, her voice carrying harmonics of shame. I thought I was being generous, accepting a human into the royal line. And now? Marcus asked, though his eyes held no judgment. Only curiosity. Now I realize Earth didn't send me a diplomat wearing a warrior's body, she said, her scales shifting to crimson, the color of admiration and desire among her kind. They sent me a warrior who'd learned diplomacy, and I am honored beyond measure. Marcus laughed, the sound tired but genuine. Does this mean I can stop using the dampeners at formal dinners? Because I'm tired of pretending your traditional feast plates are heavy. The Queen laughed too, a crystalline sound that echoed through the damaged throne room. Outside, her empire still faced threats. The Krell would return. Challenges would arise. But now, standing beside her human husband, this remarkable creature from a world that had forged him in fire and gravity, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. And perhaps, she thought as Marcus squeezed her hand with carefully controlled strength, something more than political alliance, something real. The universe had underestimated humanity. She had underestimated Marcus. Those were mistakes she would never make again. As 3 suns set over Valoria Prime, the Queen and her human husband stood together, and the galaxy would soon learn what she now knew. Humans were not merely survivors. They were something far more dangerous. They were unbreakable,